We really are working our way into uncharted territory. For the first time, we have a tropical system moving towards the mouth of the Mississippi River. Meanwhile, the Mississippi River is swollen with floodwaters. This is the latest information from the National Hurricane Center. Unchanged in terms of the strength of the winds, 50 miles per hour. Starting to notice some convection just south of the center of the circulation. This is the latest warnings. That shading of red, including Morgan City and the southern coastline of Louisiana, that's a hurricane warning. The shading of blue, including Baton Rouge, Lake Pontchartrain, as well as New Orleans, that is a tropical storm warning, and that is valid through the course of the weekend. Even though the forecast path doesn't explicitly show a hurricane strength storm making landfall, we do believe that that's still a distinct possibility. That time frame, late Friday night into early Saturday morning. But let's not get lost in the minutia here. This is a rainmaker, a flood threat. That's why the Weather Prediction Center has a high risk of flash flooding from Baton Rouge right through New Orleans all the way to the southern coastline of Louisiana. Look at that, 10 to 15 inches, perhaps locally higher amounts. You add on the potential of 4 feet of storm surge, and you've got your recipe for disaster. Well, when we speak specifically about New Orleans, we know that they have updated their levee system since the disastrous impacts from Hurricane Katrina in 2005. The levees have been tested since then. Isaac came through in 2012. They worked as predicted, but now we may have found the Achilles heel for New Orleans. Think about it. We have a tropical system that is going to bring 2 to 4 feet of storm surge. On top of that, heavy rainfall and an already swollen Mississippi River. This is, again, a recipe for disaster as the floodwaters and the storm surge work their way up the Mississippi River. Remember, New Orleans sits in a bowl, much of the city actually sitting below sea level. If any of these levees overtop, the ones particularly that are below 20 feet, of course, that could spill into the residents around New Orleans and cause major problems. I'm CNN meteorologist Derek Van Dam from the CNN Weather Center. Stay safe, everyone.
This just in from Capitol Hill. Emotions running high as members of Congress are testifying before their own colleagues, before committees. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib in tears at the House Oversight Committee's hearing this morning on the Trump administration's child separation policy. CNN congressional correspondent Sunlen Serfati is joining me now with much more on this. Sunlen, what happened?
Well, Kate, very emotional moments, very powerful moments coming out of the House Oversight Committee hearing this morning, where, as you said, we heard from the testimony of some freshman members of Congress who recently had traveled to these detention centers at the border, and they testified in front of their colleagues today to give their firsthand account of what actually they saw with their own 2 eyes while they were touring these facilities. And the Congresswomen described with great detail about what they say is inhumane conditions for the migrants. They say that some were treated like dogs. That's a quote from them, put in cages. They described people who did not have access to medicines that they needed. They described the conditions of overcrowding, and they say what were very hot conditions. And certainly we've heard many stories coming from those detention centers at the border. But here's more of the emotional testimony from these congresswomen today.
This is a manufactured crisis because the cruelty is manufactured. This is a manufactured crisis because there is no need for us to do this. There's no need for us to overcrowd and to detain and under-resource. There is no need for us to arrest innocent people and treat them no differently than criminals when they are pursuing their basic human rights.
The fear in their eyes won't be forgotten, Mr. Speaker, but the suffering in these illegal camps cannot be forgotten. Imagine traveling thousands of miles in grueling and dangerous conditions because you have no other option only to be separated from your family, from your children, thrown into overcrowded cages, denied a shower, toothbrush, and yes, Mr. Chairman, drink water out of a toilet if you're thirsty.